I think that Senne Lammens is a generational talent with world-class potential, and I'm going to define exactly what I mean by the terms generational and world-class in just a minute. But regardless of the semantics used, why exactly do I rate Senne Lammens so highly? Well, the first thing that caught my eye about him over the summer was his statistical assessment. And that's because Lammens ranks in the top 1% when compared against every goalkeeper in world football last season for what I would consider the two most important metrics when judging goalkeepers. And so forget potential, the actual current performance level and statistical output that Lammens is producing almost cements his name as one of the best young goalkeepers in the world. And to be honest, even though they are big comparisons, Lammens actually does remind me of Manuel Neuer at Schalke and Thibaut Courtois at Atletico Madrid. And that's because of how good the fundamentals are in his skill set at such a young age. However, if Lammens does want to develop into a truly world-class goalkeeper, not only is he going to have to translate this performance level to the Premier League consistently, but he's also going to have to improve certain aspects of his skill set. But alongside this, I think Lammens individually and the team collectively could benefit hugely if Amorim was to use Lammens in a hyper-creative ball-playing keeper role in possession that could tactically revolutionise the goalkeeper role for the rest of the decade. And so in this video, I'm going to be answering these three questions. What exactly are those two metrics that I described as the most valuable when judging goalkeepers? And just how impressive is Lammens' statistical output when compared against every other goalkeeper in world football? Secondly, what exactly does Lammens have to improve, but also add to his skill set in order to develop into the ultimate modern day goalkeeper? And thirdly, towards the end of the video, I'm going to be analysing some tactically creative ways that Amorim could use Lammens both in and out of possession to solve tactical issues that Manchester United come up against. But before I get into that, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to okjersey.com. They've got the new Manchester United releases for the upcoming season, with OK Jersey also allowing you to pick up high quality football shirts from just £15, plus free shipping across Europe for all orders over £45. They sent me over these new release alternative Manchester United jerseys from this season, as well as a long sleeved retro home shirt from the 92-93 season, with Cantona 7 on the back, alongside this Nuno Gomez Benfica shirt from the 97-98 season as well. If you use code ATLANTIS at checkout, you'll get a discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. So starting off, what exactly do I mean by generational and world class? Well, by world class, I simply mean performing at an elite level over a sustained period of time, so maybe 2 to 3 years, and doing so at the top level. Now, in terms of generational, I simply mean they're one of the leaders in terms of current and potential ability when compared against all other players in their position in their age group. Unlike Neuer before Bayern and Courtois before Chelsea, I would say that Lammens is in this category, because like those two, the quality level of the fundamentals within Lammens' skill set are already so well defined at such a young age, and he also gives off the same sort of vibe of assured confidence, something that usually takes even the best goalkeepers in the world till the latter stages of their career to develop. And this is also backed up by the statistical assessment, because the two stats that I consider the most valuable when judging goalkeepers are post-shot XG minus goals allowed, as well as their rate of stopping crosses. And for both of these metrics at Antwerp last season, Lammens ranked incredibly highly, as you can see from his FBref report here, over the last 365 days when compared against all other goalkeepers in the next 14 leagues outside the top 7 in the world. Lammens ranked in the top 1% for his crosses stop percentage with 14.2%, but his post-shot XG minus goals allowed rate, which essentially is just the total XG of the shots that Lammens has faced, minus the goals that he's actually conceded. You can actually see that when it came to the total amount of goals that Lammens had prevented, he actually recorded the highest value in world football. And so just think about the value that is shown from these two metrics. Lammens is someone who not only prevents XG when it comes to stopping chances being created at their source by coming out and claiming crosses, but also when it comes to his raw ability to keep shots and headers out of the back of the net. Lammens last season, at least statistically, was the best goalkeeper in world football. Now of course, even if he was to stay in the Belgian league, there's no guarantee that he sustains his shot stopping level. But also factor in Premier League forwards, and it's no surprise that there aren't too many Premier League goalkeepers at that top end of the chart. And so just naturally you'd have to expect a statistical decline with Lammens now coming to the Premier League when it comes to his prevented goals, but also his crosses claimed, because the Premier League is significantly more physical, and if you look at Lammens currently, I do think that's one area of his game that he definitely has to improve. As whilst I do think he looks incredibly assured with his handling of shots, not only being someone who's very good at not parrying the ball back into danger, parrying it into a wider position, but also someone that's able to hold on to shots as well, even when they're driven low with power, which can have a significant effect on the total XG that your team concedes, because obviously if you have a goalkeeper like Lammens who can simply cling on to a shot rather than parrying it out into a wide position, that enables you to completely halt the opposition's attack, essentially just another form of winning possession, which is also the case when it comes to claiming crosses, either from set pieces or open play, as having a keeper that's incredibly dominant from these aerial situations, not just in terms of punching the ball outside of the box, but actually catching the ball and claiming possession, is not only another form of winning possession, but is also cutting off XG at source, by preventing the XG from even being created, not just being able to stop the XG being converted. And so already, Lammens excels in two attributes that you would say are key for a modern day goalkeeper, but what are some others that he either needs to improve or add on to his skill set? Well, the first one that I think not only needs improvement, but actually adding to his skill set is his sweeping ability. See, as his FBref report shows, he's not a goalkeeper who completes a high amount of volumes outside of his penalty box. And from the eye test, you can certainly see that he doesn't have the sort of decisiveness that we would see with someone like Manuel Neuer, with there potentially being an example of this in the Liverpool game when Konate was able to thread Isaac through, and initially it looked like Lammens was probably a bit too deep. And I think if you're looking at areas where Lammens can improve his skill set, by not just stopping XG being converted as he eventually did very well in the 1v1 against Isaac, but by actually preventing the XG from being created in the first place, which I do think he could have done with a higher starting position, improved reading of the game, decisiveness, and his speed across the ground. And so you can definitely see how just through natural development, through experience, but also individualised coaching, Lammens could make his skill set even more complete. But alongside his sweeping, another area of Lammens' game that he will need to improve to make himself more complete is his ball playing ability. Statistically, last season at Antwerp, we can see that Lammens was a high volume passer, ranking around the top 20%, not only for the volume of short, long and progressive passes that he completed last season, but also for his short pass completion rate as well, with it being his long pass completion rate which needs the improvement. And if Lammens could improve his sweeping and his ball playing ability, particularly his long passing, I think he could be a massive tactical weapon for Ruben Amorim or whoever the Manchester United manager is over the next few seasons, and this is how. So very obviously, having a keeper that's good at coming outside of their box and making clearances enables you to use what in Football Manager player roles terms is known as a sweeper keeper. So rather than having a goalkeeper who's going to be what I call a box sitter, someone who's not really going to venture out to make any clearances, you're essentially keeping the distance between your back line on the halfway line and the goalkeeper themselves at around 30 to 35 yards. However, with the necessary anticipation, decision making and speed across the ground, you can now allow your goalkeeper to have a higher starting position, reducing the vertical distance between the back line and him by maybe 10 or even 15 yards compared with a traditional goalkeeper. And so firstly, this enables you to push your back line higher up the pitch, minimising the risk of getting caught by long balls over the back line, as we saw as a prime example against Brentford. But it's not just from pressing situations, but also in possession as well. See, if you have a goalkeeper that's able to sweep up the first 40 yards of the pitch, this enables you to be significantly more aggressive with the positioning of your rest defence, as rather than keeping 3 players deep, being fearful of passes into the channels, you can now maybe use a 2v2 or a 1v1, knowing that you have the added security of a man advantage with the goalkeeper behind, thereby enabling you to use an aggressive 2-2 or a 1-3 rest defence, enabling your counter-pressing shape to be a lot more vertically compact, but also enable your defensive players to be in close proximity to the opposition's attackers, which is going to be optimal for applying a man-to-man counter-press as soon as the attack breaks down and there's a counter-pressing opportunity in the opposition's half. Now in terms of ball playing ability, obviously in the build-up phase, you have the man advantage because even if the opposition are going to go for a strict and aggressive man-to-man press, because they can't throw the goalkeeper forward to the press, your goalkeeper just naturally is going to be the free man. And so this means that when playing out of pressure via shorter passing sequences, enticing pressure and looking to play through it, having a goalkeeper that is highly efficient when receiving the ball in terms of his ball control, getting the ball out of his feet quickly, but then also having the vision and the technical execution to pull off line-breaking passes through the centre of the pitch, working the ball in behind the opposition's front or midfield line presses, but also having the long passing range to either completely switch play, playing the pass over a wide midfielder and bypassing the press directly, or alternatively, as we see United do regularly, having the goalkeeper link play via vertically direct passes into the front line, with your centre forward, someone like Sesko or Cunha, linking play effectively and allowing United to bypass the pressure that way. And so you could call this a ball-playing keeper, you could be a bit more specific, call it a line-breaking keeper, maybe even a quarterback because of the ability to play those long-range passes, either out wide to bypass the press and exploit the space on the opposite flank, or even to take advantage of a high and aggressive man-to-man back line by releasing quick runners into the space behind the defence, which was of course Ederson's trademark whilst at Manchester City. But being more tactically creative, the goalkeeper could also be very useful higher up the pitch in the middle third. As we see with Herzler and Verbruggen at Brighton, Lammens could be given the freedom to push outside of his box during settled possession, essentially becoming an additional man in the deepest possession line, or the 11th man across the whole pitch, which could be incredibly useful if the opposition are doing a very organised and effective job of cutting passing lanes into players between the lines, as simply by having this extra man on the pitch, you're now able to simply but also effectively open up passing lanes from the deepest possession line into players between the lines, and if your goalkeeper has a high level of passing ability, they're able to play those line breaking passes, essentially being a deeper line playmaker. But a keeper with longer passing range could also be effective when you're looking to circulate the play quickly. See, when under pressure, rather than having your centre-backs play a pass maybe 35 or 40 yards backwards, completely killing the momentum of the attack, if your goalkeeper is given the freedom to push further up, reducing that distance to maybe around 25 yards, they're able to become what I call a point. More specifically, the point of circulation. The pass can go back to them, but because the distance is reduced, the momentum in the attack isn't completely killed. But also, simply by playing the pass backwards, the opposition's backline naturally are going to push up a few yards, which can be incredibly valuable against deep and compact defensive shapes, who restrict the amount of space between the lines and in behind the back line of their defensive shape, as when they're pushing out, this is a prime time to have runners running the other way, making it harder for the opposition defenders to adjust and track your runners simply because your attackers now have the momentum. And if you have a goalkeeper with elite level passing range, you can now utilise them as a quarterback in this deeper role higher up the pitch, releasing runners in behind the back line, or simply circulating the ball to the other side with a long switch of play, taking advantage of a horizontally compact defensive shape, and potentially enabling you to get one of your wingers in a 1v1 against the opposition's fullback. So let me know if you agreed with my analysis, and if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to okjersey.com. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. And if you do want to sign up to my Patreon, get access to any of my articles or these circle charts or plot graphs, you can get a 7-day free trial, so I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.